Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Dressing Room Debrief. And Chelsea have finally won away for the first time since December. With a 2-1 win in the last minute. Nothing could beat a last minute winner at the Cottage against Fulham, repaying them for what they did to us back in December at home when they won in the last minute against us. And yeah, apologies for it being a bit late. I hope you all had a good Easter weekend for those who celebrate. And I certainly did, and got a bit merry after that win, which meant yesterday was a complete write-off for me, and that's why this video is slightly late going out. But I haven't really got much to say because it's a sort of same old repeat. There's a lot of talk about whether Chelsea sort of abandoned Maresca's plans to win us the game. I'm not quite sure that's the case. I just think that the quality in Neto's finish, we played completely different in the second half compared to the first. The first was the usual slow, lethargic, dull, really boring sort of Maresca style of football. And the goal we conceded was terrible. Reece James getting caught on the ball. But I just think that it was just two moments of genius from Tyreek George and Neto that won us the game. I don't think it was any necessarily different to what we usually see. The build-up was fantastic, particularly the second goal. That instinctive finish from George for the equaliser was unreal. And I do think he deserves a start. I've been saying this for a while now. He's one of the players that you look at and he's got no fear. He's young. And I just think that he's really positive and attacking. And that's been quite a problem. We've got a lot of players like your Sanchos and your Cole Palmers and your Jacksons who at the start of the season were quality. And they've sort of gone off the boil. And I just wonder whether they're being shackled a bit by the manager, telling all the players to play a certain style of football. Um, I just feel like there's a bit of Guardiola with Jack Grealish about that sort of thing, particularly with Cole Palmer. I don't think he's been allowed to flourish like he did last year. Jackson still needs to improve. He needs to make more runs into the box, more strategic and creative runs to make defenders think. There was an example where Neto put in a fantastic cross and he reacted to it too late. So the ball whizzed past him. It was a great cross and it just sums him up. He doesn't move enough. He's not proactive. He's reactive. But I do think he's got time for that. He's still young, so he can improve. But I do think Tyreek George needs to push for a start. Love Neto. His work rate is unreal. Sometimes he's not the best, but I can't fault the guy because he always gives 100%. And I know that's a bare minimum when it comes to playing football. But for me, that's what I love to see. And he kind of reminds me of Pedro Rodriguez and that sort of relentlessness on and off the ball. There was a sort of, I missed it because I went down for a halftime beer because that's how bad the first half was. But the jeers and the obscenities towards Maresca, which didn't surprise me that he walked off at the end because, to be honest, no matter what I think, I don't think he's the right man for Chelsea. But um, you can't fault the geezer for walking off if you've just been called all the names under the sun by your own fans at half time when you're walking across that pitch from the dugout to the changing rooms at Craven Cottage. So I completely don't blame him for just walking off at the end, but that atmosphere was something else. The Tyreek George song was in my head for about 48 hours afterwards. Still is in a way. And he's just unreal. That moment between the fans and the players at the end of the game was great. It was a bit of a cohesion, and I haven't felt that with Chelsea for a while. So that was brilliant. The away fans were sublime, I thought, always behind the team. Um, and they showed up. I'd just like to see Chelsea go back to basics where they let the attackers attack, let the wingers, release the shackles on the wingers and players like Palmer, let them flourish, let them run at players, let them try and take people on, let them shoot, rather than this sort of wingers got to get down there, keep possession because statistically it shows that most crosses, etc., never work. I just want us to go back, and that's why I find Forest a breath of fresh air at the moment. They're nothing fancy. They just play basic football. Defenders defend their own box like their lives depend on it. They've got sort of attacker wingers that are just wingers, like I just explained, and they've got Chris Wood, who's a striker who just wants to score goals. And none of this inverting right back, inverting left back, to join the midfield, and all this sort of stuff, all that rubbish. The possession football, the stats, the statistics that show that loads of, goals don't come from the box, so there's no point defending it. Things like that. I just want it to go back to basics. And yeah, we've got big last few games coming up now, with Forest beating Spurs. And yeah, we've got to beat Everton in the early kickoff on Saturday and put a bit of pressure on the teams around us, I think.